Beyond Stardom this time, a collection of celebrities who do far more than swan around on screen. This actress-activist is the daughter and half-sister of 80s hit country singing duo the Judds. After growing up in Kentucky, Ashley Judd left university early to study acting at Playhouse West in Hollywood. She got her career start in television in the 90s and graduated to the big screen with roles in Smoke and Heat. By the end of the decade, she'd made a name for herself, starring in two big box office thrillers, Kiss the Girls and Double Jeopardy.
Accurate information about HIV.
In 2004, the critics were impressed with her turn as Cole Porter's wife and muse in the musical DeLovely. Although the movie itself was later panned, Ashley got to thrill to the buzz of having the film premiere as the closing film of the Cannes Film Festival.
Oh my God, I think it's going to be epic. It didn't really hit me until I got here that we are closing the Cannes Film Festival. Kevin and I have been asked to present the Grand Prix. Then they're playing a retrospective tribute to the 80-year history of MGM, which is a glorious studio with a fabulous Hollywood past. Then there's a concert with all the people from the film performing, ranging from Sheryl Crow to Alanis Morissette to Robbie Williams to Natalie Cole. And then there's the party.
But swanky premieres couldn't be further from the day-to-day reality of the practicing Baptist, who's also a global ambassador for Youth AIDS.
Prevention is our power, and all of the world's problems and solving them begin with empowered, reasonable education. And that's what we do at Youth AIDS. We have a balanced approach to prevention, talking about the A, the B, and the C. We reach out to all segments of the population, and the programs are very efficient and very inexpensive. $10 per person educated and protected for an entire year.
Her mission has taken her all over the world, raising awareness of the fact that over 25 million Africans have died of the virus and that there are currently 40 million people living with HIV/AIDS worldwide.
That to me is completely unacceptable. Young people aged 15 to 24 are most at risk. High-risk groups are spreading the virus exponentially. There's a geometric movement to this virus. What are some other statistics? I think that the rate of new infections daily is over 11,000. This to me is an emergency.
On a visit to an AIDS hospice in Cambodia's Phnom Penh, she was overwhelmed.
I feel very sad, but I feel very privileged that I've been allowed to see some really beautiful people. And very pleased that they would receive me and allow me to visit with them. And I'm very grateful to the people who provide their health care with such poise and dignity.
What can you do to help these people?
Exactly this. And I'm a very, in many ways, private and shy person, and I don't tell people stories without their permission, and they have granted me permission to share their story, and so that is what I am doing.
As well as her AIDS work, Ashley is very active in the fight for women's rights.
One of the things that really bugs me, and of course I come out of Hollywood, and so I see the machinery that helps perpetrate images of women, is a lot of the negative stereotyping about women and women's bodies, and that they're sexual objects to be sexually objectified and all of that. That's another thing that I'm really waiting for some great preacher to set my soul on fire, talking that down from a pulpit somewhere.
While working as a waiter, this all-rounder once served legendary writer-director Billy Wilder, who advised him to try his hand at screenwriting. Billy Bob Thornton went on to write, direct and star in the 1996 sleeper hit SOngblade, which catapulted him to superstardom and earned him an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. He then directed All the Pretty Horses, starring Matt Damon and Penelope Cruz 4 years later. But it was such a negative experience, he vowed never to direct again. The same year, his screenplay The Gift, about a medium who witnesses a murder in a vision, was brought to the big screen by an all-star cast and director Sam Raimi. For the next few years, despite also releasing 2 roots and rock albums, his professional exploits were overshadowed by his marital status as Mr. Angelina Jolie and their rumoured relationship foibles. Not only did she have his name tattooed on her arm, there were reports that they wore vials of each other's blood around their necks. Whether or not those rumours were true, Billy Bob has certainly confessed to 1 or 2 other idiosyncrasies. As well as having an obsessive-compulsive disorder, he has a phobia of antiques and certain types of silverware. These may or may not have influenced the marriage split in 2003, which left Angelina with custody of their adopted son, Maddox. It was Billy Bob's 5th divorce, after which he came to the conclusion that marriage doesn't work for him. Aside from his divorce, 2003 was a great year for Billy Bob, with 4 movies hitting the theatres. Playing a love-struck billionaire in the romantic comedy Intolerable Cruelty alongside George Clooney and Catherine Zeta-Jones gave him an opportunity to witness firsthand the genius of Ethan and Joel Coen.
Those guys are magicians. I'm not sure how they do it, but they do it. You know, whatever they set out to do, they always end up being successful at it.
And Billy Bob got to share in that success as the star of their black comedy Bad Santa. Not only was it a box office success, his turn as the foul-mouthed Kris Kringle confirmed Billy Bob as a leading comedy actor. It helped bag him the part of the grisly baseball coach in a remake of the 1976 classic Bad News Bears. Employing the same writing team as Bad Santa, it drew inevitable comparisons.
Maybe because Bad Santa wasn't that long ago, they're going to draw those parallels. But really, I mean, it stops at, you know, the guy drinks beer and smokes cigars and he curses. But you could say that about a lot of people, you know, and a lot of characters in movies. I guess simply because there were kids involved in that one or kids involved in this one. But yeah, there's some similarities.
Thankfully, the similarities ended there.
He's the exact opposite of what he plays in his movies.
Unlike his crabby, misanthropic alter ego, the real Billy Bob is a pleasure to work with.
Such a nice guy. Like, he's done so much for us. Like, we went to his house to have a pizza party and stuff, and it was so much fun. And like, he got us all these cool gifts and stuff. He's really nice.
He's also very generous with his praise, regularly paying tribute to deserving peers like Robert Duvall.
It's been a pleasure to write a few words for him and to stand toe-to-toe with him as an actor. And I can't think of anybody in the world that deserves this more than Bobby, and I'm really proud to be here.
He was also on hand to big up country music star Tim McGraw when he received his Hollywood honor.
In these days and times, it's good to have a family and a home, and Tim's done that very well. He has a great family. He's a wonderful father, wonderful husband, and a great friend. And I can't think of anybody else in country music who deserves a star on this walk more than Tim.
And when it was his turn to be immortalized, he didn't forget to graciously acknowledge those who came before him.
I'd like to acknowledge the fact that this is a real honor, because you see yourself on here with a bunch of people that you grew up idolizing. And that's what gives you a chill. I mean, the fact that you're on the sidewalk with Jimmy Stewart and, you know, Robert Duvall and all these other people, it's a huge honor.
This actress entrepreneur was named Undercover Activist of the Year by Glamour Magazine in 2006. Keeping very quiet about her philanthropic activities, Sandra Bullock has set up 2 charities that donate undisclosed amounts of money to a large number of causes. She has twice donated $1 million to the Red Cross, once to its Liberty Disaster Relief Fund, and then as direct aid to victims of the Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunamis of 2004. In 2005, she plowed money into the relief fund for Hurricane Katrina and helped towards the rebuilding of New Orleans' oldest school.
Let's not make that the place that we're just happy to go party and have fun in and be there for a while. If we don't take care of it now, it's not going to be there. And it makes me sad. You know?
Thankfully, Sandra's star power and business acumen have put her in a position to be so generous. In January 2007, she was ranked at number 14 on the Forbes list of the richest female entertainers. Taking over from Meg Ryan as the queen of romantic comedy in the late 90s, her sparkling combination of beauty, spunk and wit helped make hits of films like Speed, When You Were Sleeping, Miss Congeniality and 2 Weeks' Notice, which teamed her up with the upper-class English wag Hugh Grant.
Liked him, you know, as a person very much, and then I started getting concerned that when we would get on set that maybe little Mr. Pissy Pants, but he was actually unbelievable.
Which is my reputation in the business.
And he kept telling me that was his reputation, so he sort of set me up for like disasters and tanties, as he put it. But I've never worked with anybody who has made me want to step up to plate as much as he does. He makes anything he's in better.
She got a taste of some of the behind-the-scenes pressures as executive producer on her 2002 psychological thriller Murder by Numbers.
Well, I was executive producer, so my responsibilities aren't as great, but it's, you know, it's time-consuming, and you just feel like you could. I'm afraid to go in here and start taking notes on things I want to change, but at some point you just have to let it go.
It wasn't her first producing gig. Her company Fortis Films, which she runs with her sister and father, had already found fame and fortune with films like Gun-Shy and Miss Congeniality. It has since clinched a lucrative syndication deal for its TV sitcom George Lopez that reportedly banked Sandra $10 million. She also owns a restaurant in Austin, Texas called Best Bistro. All these enterprises no doubt kept her busy after filming 2 Weeks' Notice, when she took an 18-month break from acting. Going back to square one meant auditioning for parts and scouting for good scripts that would help her break out of the romantic comedy mold. She well and truly did that in 2005, playing an uptight and racist rich housewife in Crash. The same year, she married motorcycle builder and TV show host Jesse James. In 2006's Infamous, she played the frumpy, erudite author Harper Lee and confessed there were still plenty of acting challenges left to face.
A lot of times comedies aren't looked at as character work or legitimate, and I'm okay with that because I will continue to make those kinds of films, but I also will continue to strive for roles that I love and that expand what I know I can do and tell stories with a group of actors that I think will inspire for 2 hours or hour and 39 minutes and tell an incredible journey. So whatever package that comes in, hopefully I'll be able enough to go after that.
The next incredible journey came in the form of the psychological thriller Premonition, in which a wife is informed her husband has been killed, only to wake up the next day to find him alive and well. Sharing the screen with her for the first time, Amber Valletta understood why Sandra has become so beloved of audiences and her peers.
He's extremely talented and beautiful and funny, and then really down to earth. And you can't beat all that.
She forgot to mention humility.
Because of this honor to carve my name into every wet cement poured on a sidewalk, and now that I have this, it's sort of, I'm turning legit, so I thank you for that. But you know, it's a weird thing. People kept asking, how does this feel? And I feel awkward, and I don't feel worthy, because the only reason I stand here is because of the great works of all the people that allow me to do my job.
This diminutive vegetarian recently opened an Italian restaurant in Miami that reportedly serves meat on its traditional chop house menu. Danny Devito still lives in the US state of New Jersey, where he was born in 1948 to Italian-American Catholic parents. His film career began with his role as hallucinating mental patient Martini in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. However, he became a household name as the amoral boss from hell in the late 70s sitcom Taxi. He consolidated that image on the big screen to great effect, playing the bad guy in comedy blockbusters like Romancing the Stone, Jewel of the Nile, and Ruthless People. In 1987, he smoothly joined the ranks of actor-directors with the dark comedy Throw Mama Off the Train, in which he co-starred with Billy Crystal. It may not have wowed critics, but it did get the thumbs up from the audiences, who turned it into a major commercial success. Since then, he's been as hard at work behind the scenes as he has in front of the camera. In 1992, he reunited with his Romancing the Stone chums Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner to direct and co-star in War of the Roses. He also produced, directed and starred in the biopic of Teamsters Union leader Jimmy Hoffa. Some of the major films he's produced include the 1997 sci-fi thriller Gattaca and Erin Brockovich, which earned Julia Roberts an Oscar and helped turn her into Hollywood's highest-paid actress. In 2002, he returned to the director's chair to take another trademark dark comedy called Death to Smoochie about a corrupt children's television host.
It's, and it's so dark and fun and, it does out Mama in a way, in its own. I think it's in the same genre, I guess you would say, as that. And
Danny was in his element.
I get to do all the musical numbers, and I get to work with Robin Williams, who's just off the charts funnier than he's ever been in his life. And, Norton is like, what a dream to work with. Keener. God, Catherine Keener. I love Catherine Keener so much. And I love her even more after this experience.
Despite Danny's effusion of warm and fuzzies, the plot was filled with contract killings, brutal beatings, neo-Nazis, and phallic baked goods. Robin Williams felt it necessary to issue this warning.
The thing just takes off in this way that people are going, whoa! And it's not a children's movie. I mean, the trailers look funny, but please, this is not, don't bring Timmy and Susie, or they'll be asking you lots of questions, and you'll be getting, who is it? Welfare. Children's welfare. Step away from the child, sir. It's like, this is nasty.
There was a little more family-orientated fun in his 2006 comedy Deck the Halls.
The thing is that there's a sweetness to it, but it's couched in a very funny movie. So you can get that holiday feeling, and you get that really wonderful coming together about it, but it's also, hilarious.
Although there was a spot of funny business between his character Buddy Hall and the local eye doctor played by Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, Matthew and I, we were totally into it. I mean, we were in that sleeping bag. There were 90 people around, but sometimes you have to perform, and that's all there is to it. The pressure's on. If you noticed, I was on top.
In real life, Danny has been married for over 25 years to Cheers star Rhea Perlman. This last great star of Hollywood's golden age reportedly hates to be called Liz. Way back in 1962, Elizabeth Taylor was the first actress ever to command a salary of $1 million. Thanks to filming setbacks that included her own prolonged illness, that figure had ballooned to almost $4 million by the time the movie was in the can, helping to make Cleopatra one of the most expensive film disasters in film history. It is still remembered as the film that almost bankrupted 20th Century Fox. The elaborate period flop that furnished Elizabeth with 68 costume changes also earned infamy for introducing her to the charms of Welsh actor Richard Burton. While still married to her fourth husband, Eddie Fisher, she and Richard began a highly publicized affair on the Cleopatra set. Condemnation of Liz's loose morals rang out from every quarter. Even the Vatican newspaper was prompted to refer to her actions as erotic vagrancy. But within 2 weeks of divorcing Eddie in 1964, the torrid romance became legitimate. Their tempestuous relationship and extravagant lifestyle along with Richard's legendary drinking habits and Liz's frequent trips to the hospital, made them media target #1 for over a decade. Their divorce in June 1975 was followed by a remarriage 4 months later, which ended in yet another divorce in 1976. However, they remained close friends until Richard died in 1984, and despite going through another 2 husbands since then, Liz still credits Richard with being the love of her life. Given the bewildering number of illnesses she's endured over her lifetime, she may well have expected to join him by now. Despite suffering no fewer than 73 illnesses, injuries and accidents that required hospitalization, including an emergency tracheotomy, a brain tumor and several visits to rehab, she's clearly made of sterner stuff. After a 60-year career yielding 50 films and 2 Oscars, she's still very much a force to be reckoned with, particularly in the fight against AIDS. In 1985, when most other celebrities were sticking their head in the sand about AIDS due to its moral complexities, she was out and proud in her dedication to combat the disease. In fact, she recently got into hot water with Nancy Sinatra when she posthumously slammed her father Frank for shunning her first AIDS benefit back in the 80s. She helped establish the American Foundation for AIDS Research and created the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation in 1991. Since then, the 2 organizations have raised well in excess of $250 million. In 2003, despite the fragile state of her own health, she dragged herself from her sickbed to lend her clout to the annual Amphar Cinema Against AIDS benefit at Cannes.
I pray to God that we do not give up. I'm sorry for getting so emotional, but I know so many people that have died on the front. And I wish you all the best. You have my prayers.
2 years later, she refused to let a wheelchair cramp her style as she launched the new UCLA Clinical AIDS Research and Education Center with a little support from a star-studded audience.
I am proud to lend my name to their campaign to establish an endowment that will allow them to continue their crucial work. Even now, as we see a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, we cannot give up. People with AIDS are living longer. People with AIDS are living healthier. But sadly, people with AIDS are still not living forever.
Bewigged and dripping with jewelry, Dame Elizabeth, as she became in 1999, has managed to hold on to her image as a glamour icon, which helps to promote sales of her perfume empire. Beginning with passion in the 1980s, the range has expanded to reflect her famous obsession with one particular precious stone. As well as white diamonds, she has also put her name to scents named Diamonds and Emeralds, Diamonds and Rubies, and Diamonds and Sapphires. She's also been dabbling with the real thing and is making a name for herself designing her own range of jewelry. In fact, she wore an example of her own work to her 75th birthday bash in Las Vegas.
Is this one of your jewelry designs that you're wearing?
Yes, it is.
Tell us about it.
Well, I call it frost because of the little icebergy things. Not birds, like they look like they have
icicles.
Icicles.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.